What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Jackal Games, and I'm here with Rootz Wired, and we're going to be doing a video collaboration reviewing the PlayStation 2 DualShock 2 controller. So this is what the controller looks like, long cable. Now you can get the DualShock 2, aka the PlayStation 2 controller in many colors, but I have the standard black one, the one that comes with most systems. You have this, and then with the cable, you basically just plug it into the console, which that's the first thing I'll comment on. It's a wired controller, and I do like that. I think wired controllers should make a comeback. Wireless controllers are cool, but the big problem with them is one of them either requires batteries if you're on Xbox, and then one of them requires to recharge it on PlayStation. And the PlayStation battery life, at least on PS4, isn't really that long. Wired is just better because you could use the controller all day long. There's no battery, no nothing. So I didn't see anything wrong with this. I think this should at least still be an option for new consoles. So that is a bonus and a plus, and it's long, which is really nice. So the cord's solid. Now, as for the controller itself, it looks really nice. The black color looks really nice. It also looks nice in other colors. You got the Sony PlayStation Select Start analog text. It all looks nice. I like the way the colors of these buttons look, and I like the overall design of the controller. So the overall feel and the how the controller feels. The analog sticks are pretty nice. I do like the analog sticks. They feel real nice when you use them, when you're walking in games or you're rotating the camera. Analog sticks work really well and feel real nice, so I like those. You click them, they're good. The D-pad's pretty nice. I like the D-pad as well. It's pretty comfortable. Definitely really nice. Like that as well. And then you have the buttons here. You have square, X, circle, triangle. All these are solid buttons. Feel nice. They're perfect. And like I said, the colors on them are really nice. Then you have the start and select button, which feel real nice, as well as the analog button, which feels nice. Then you have the Sony, then you have the PlayStation logo. So buttons on the front, all great. Then you have these on the back. You have the L1 bumper, the R1 bumper. Then you have the L2 button and the R2 button. And all these feel really nice as well. I like them too. So buttons, sticks, all that, the cord is great. You also have this like DualShock 2 thing right there. So yeah, the overall buttons and the cord and the design of the controller is solid. Now, the one thing I will say about the PlayStation 2 controller, the DualShock 2, that I don't like, that is the biggest negative for me, especially as I've gotten older, this controller is too small. I can play games on the PS2 and use this. The buttons and stuff, like I said, feel nice, but this controller is just too small. I prefer how much bigger, like the Xbox 360 controller is, or the PS4 controller is. Those controllers fit more in your hand. I'll use an example actually, because I have a controller of what I'm going to be talking about as an example. So this controller, this is the Nintendo Pro controller, and notice how this fits right in the hand. See that? I really like that. These are the kind of controller sizes I like the most. Perfect size, fits right in the hand, it's super comfortable. Whereas the DualShock 2, it's not really like that. It's kind of small. Well, it is small. And that is the one thing I do not like about the DualShock 2. And it's good Sony eventually fixed that with the PS4. It's a shame this also exists with the PS3. I've never had that system, but that's the one thing I don't like because I think having your controller fit nice in your hand and being somewhat big goes a long way. So that's the only criticism and the main negative thing I would say about the DualShock 2. And yeah, like I said, it doesn't feel as comfortable as it could because of the size of it. That's the problem. It doesn't feel as comfortable as it could because of the size. If it was bigger, it'd be more comfortable. But other than that, I do think it is a solid controller. So that's really what I have to say about it and what I think of the controller. I've used it plenty on the PS2 playing it. Besides that negative I mentioned, it does work as a controller and plays really well, and I've used it a lot. Solid. PS2 is a good system itself. But that's what I think of it. Now you're going to see what Rootz Wired thinks of the controller, and let me know in the comments what you think of the DualShock 2. But that's it for my part in this collab. Peace out.
What is going on YouTube? This is Rootz. So I've got a collaboration review here to do with Jackal Gold Games. Basically, this particular review is about the DualShock 2, the PlayStation 2 remote, as far as those pitches can happen. So I have one right here. Basically, the product about this particular remote here, as far as these pitches can happen, this is obviously the thing that you use to be able to play the PlayStation 2 games, pitches like that. But it has a number of features. The PlayStation 2 also, for one thing, was something that could play, like audio CDs, pitches like that, and then also like PlayStation 1 games and DVD movies, some of those particular type fares. So reviewing this, you could say obviously it's a pretty comfortable and awesome type remote in terms of the aspect of being able to play the standard games that you would be able to play, but it also it's a pretty good concept of this particular remote and controller here is also a pretty awesome context to be able to get. It's pretty affable within the sense when you do play audio CDs, like playing like a Snoop Dogg or Eminem type CD, something like that, good CD like that, System of a Down, some of those type pitches, I would have to say. Really works for like the format of it as far as what's going to happen. It's not confusing or the layout's not difficult. It's the same thing with DVD movies. In certain senses, I actually prefer using like the PlayStation 2 to like standard remotes. I mean, it's not like obviously for DVD and Blu-ray movies, it's not a terrible aspect to be able to use like a standard remote control as far as this pitch can have. This actual remote here is not too terrible to use just for like using the L2 button to be able to rewind the movie and the R1 button to be able to skip a scene or something like that, and the start button to be able to hit the pause button to pitch like that. So it's pretty affable within the sense. I don't commonly use the other buttons like the X and the square and the circle button for like the movie type fare, but it's just within the pitch as far as saying it's just a typical type format. But in terms of like games and pitches like that, this controller has some cool stuff about it just because it has pressure sensitive kind of buttons on here, which back in like the year 2000 2001 when the particular PlayStation 2 came out, that was kind of a big deal just because you had more access to be able to just between in fighting games being able to punch characters harder within pitches like that was just kind of a big deal within the aspect. So I like that's the commonplace kind of thing. I don't know as much as folks kind of talk about nowadays, but the buttons were kind of pressure sensitive, meaning that it just had more accessibility, which this meant for more stuff within games that they could do with it as far as this pitch can have. So it's a good type fare for that. Obviously, this is a very comfortable remote as far as these pitch can have. This is like one of the standards as to what kind of goes along with it just in the pitch. I mean, I feel like for the most part, I do have like an Xbox One remote here as far as these pitch can happen. This is another comfortable type one within a pitch, but in terms of like playing games and pitches like that, this is probably one of the most affable. This is one of the most affable type ones within the aspect of it. This continues to be a highlight. I never really owned a PlayStation 3, so I can't comment on as to whether or not that one had the particular same comfy type factor about it. But I want to say it was relatively similar, just without the wiredness. I feel like even talking about the wire, like the wire length of this particular controller here is awesome as well. It's not something that's only like 3 or 4 feet long. I think it's actually like 7 or 8 feet. I don't know it's full bound, but I've never really had a problem with the PlayStation 2 as far as saying that the controller cord is just too short to say that it's just not fun within a pitch. I mean, obviously you can't play from like another room if you wanted to, but it's just in the pitch for the most part. I mean, the length of like the cord is excellent to have the impact of just being able to say it just has the aspect where you don't have to sit like a foot away from the television, like within certain things, like when you think of classic editions or some of those type of screw ups that kind of particularly happen. So it's just within the pitch, good aspect there. I look after just the concept behind how some of this particular fair can happen. I mean, in terms like just the comfiness and this overall, the factor as to how the layout of everything kind of went, it's just probably one of the best game remotes and controllers that particularly kind of happen within the pitch. So this is like a standout of one that just kind of particularly has that. So this is definitely one. For the most part, I'd have to say the DualShock 2. You just don't get too much of better kind of remotes than that particular one. I mean, I think obviously you can say certain ones like the Xbox 360 was not bad. Some of these type ones, the Xbox One, some of these type pitches, but this one definitely stands the test of time. So it's within the pitch. So in terms of I'm going to score this particular controller here, I just would say the product of it, the DualShock 2, just as a whole, just between the DVDs, the CDs, pitches like that, some of those type fares within it, and the games obviously within the pitch, I'd give it a 10 out of 10. Just the product of the DualShock 2 is a 10 out of 10. The comfort of this controller, which is just how like it's not wonky or anything like that. It's kind of an awkward controller that this is kind of just not this kind of cumbersome pitches like that. The comfort of it is a 10 out of 10. And then the handiness factor of it's a 10 out of 10. Just the aspect of how it particularly kind of happens, just between like all the things that it can do in pitches like that, just within the tone behind it. It's just kind of the factor as far as saying that you look after it. Just the way that they handled being able to play DVD movies, I kind of feel like the Xbox kind of screwed up a bit. I mean, with the Xbox, talking about the one from the 2000s that was the original Xbox, that one you could only watch DVD movies with the remote. But I just like the fact that how easily they nailed the particular aspect. Watching movies is not cumbersome within a pitch if you do have other folks around like homies or bellas as far as this pitch that happens. It's kind of the aspect as far as saying the factor about what particularly happens within the fare of this. This is very affable within a sense. It's not so much like, oh, turn off those video games. It's just kind of the concept as far as being able to say that you have the pitch as far as saying that the PlayStation 2 has enough slick factor to be able to say it's not going to be kind of an awkward scenario if you do want to watch some movies for movie night, something like that, just with an actual game machine. It's kind of the pitch, a very affable and connecting type product that has the pitch behind it and just nails the tones of these particular things. 10 out of 10, the DualShock 2, just very recommendable within the fare behind it. It's an easy type product to say that's just a classic.